Before I jump into my reviews for Wrestle Kingdom 7 and 8 and my preview for Wrestle Kingdom 12, quick thing I want to put out there, if you message me on Twitter or if you comment on this video or any of my other videos for the next few days, I will be ignoring those messages, not to be a dick, but I don't want to have The Last Jedi spoiled for me, and I'm not taking any chances. So, if you send me a message on Twitter or anything and you're expecting a response, you're probably not going to get one because I'm deliberately avoiding any and all spoilers. So, I'm just ignoring as much as I can for I just gotta last till Friday, and then I'll be alright. But after that, I'll be nice again, and I'll be sociable and all that other stuff. But, jumping right into Wrestle Kingdoms 7 and 8, the final two Wrestle Kingdoms I will be reviewing as part of this video series. And I gotta say, when I started doing this video series, I kind of expected, and maybe I just kind of set myself up for failure here, I kind of expected there to be shows on par with the Wrestle Kingdoms that I had watched, 9, 10, and 11. I expected, there's all these other, hidden gems through the other Wrestle Kingdom events that are really, really great. And some of the best wrestling shows in the last decade or so that I hadn't seen before. In watching the first 6, I thought one was a bad show. Not like one of the worst shows ever, but it wasn't a very particularly good show. I thought 2 was a lot of fun, but not great. I thought Wrestle Kingdom 3 was probably the best one out of the first 6, but still not stellar. And 4 was good, not stellar. 5 was meh. 6 was a little meh. And there wasn't that really standout stellar Wrestle Kingdom event out of the first 6. And I was like, man, maybe I just started at the right time and I just saw Wrestle Kingdom at its very best. Then I watched 7 and 8. I loved both shows, but I thought both shows were outstanding, and I'm glad I watched them. So I guess you could say if I were going to do a top 5 Wrestle Kingdom events, it would be 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. I'd have to debate with myself about what the order would be, but yeah, so I guess you could say it's 5 events in a row where they've really hit it out of the park and just had really stellar events. And with some of the build-up that they're doing for Wrestle Kingdom 12, it looks like it might be 6 in a row. But again, well, fingers crossed, let's hope. But yeah, jumping into Wrestle Kingdom 7, which I really, really liked. This event, I would probably say, was my favorite out of all the ones I reviewed as part of the series. I really loved this show. Just top to bottom, well, almost top to bottom. We'll talk about the matches in a minute. But just so many stellar matches and so much great different action and great pairings. And it was just a thoroughly entertaining show all around. So let's just get started. Opening match, 8-man tag, Akebono, Manabu Nakanishi, MVP, and Strongman, which is probably the most bland and generic name I've ever heard given to a wrestler, defeated members of Chaos, Bob Sapp, Takashi Iizuka, Toru Yano, and Yujiro Takahashi. Probably the most noteworthy thing that happened in this match were the Akebono, Akebono being the master of mobility, his showdowns with Bob Sapp. They had little strongman showdowns there, which involved them trying to shoulder tackle each other. That was probably the highlight of the match, so that's what we're working with here. So I'd probably say this was the weakest match on the show. You don't want to start off with a bad opener, but this was just kind of it was a whatever match. Akebono's team won. That's really all there is to say. People ignored the tag team rules. It just kind of became a clusterfuck at one point, but, I kind of expect that out of these type of matches. Next up was Masato Tanaka versus Shelton Benjamin for the Never Openweight Championship. This was before the Never Openweight title matches kind of found their identity, these really sick, stiff, brutal, brawling type of matches. But I expected Tanaka and Benjamin to have a good match. And it wasn't bad, it was just very one-sided. I felt like Tanaka kind of dominated Benjamin and then finished him off fairly quickly. Benjamin got a little bit more offense toward the end, but overall, Tanaka pretty much dominated the match and got the win. So I was kind of like, that was what it was. I mean, I'm not against somebody like Tanaka getting a dominant win. I just thought, maybe this match will be a sleeper hit. And I'm like, no, it was just kind of a, I mean, I don't want to say a squash, but it was, like I said, it was particularly one-sided, but it was quick. What else is there to say? Next up for the IWGP Tag Team Championship, the Killer Elite Squad, Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Lance Archer, who had a great entrance coming out on the motorcycle. There were actually a lot of really cool entrances at 7 and 8, but they defended their titles against Sword and Guns, Hiroki Goto, and Carl Anderson. Carl Anderson, who's kind of like a tag team specialist when you look at his partners like Giant Bernard and Doc Gallows and Hiroki Goto. He works well with just about everybody, and I thought this match was really good. I thought this was a really good, solid kind of power, throw him around type of tag match, and just a really fun one to watch. And Killer Elite Squad retained the titles in what I thought was the best match so far, and the match that kind of got things going after two relatively weak matches to start things off. Then we got Yuji Nagata versus Minoru Suzuki, their third showdown in the Dome. They are 1-1 heading into this one. And Suzuki had a great entrance where he had his theme song performed live by the performer. I forget her name. But she did a really good job singing the song, and it made the entrance feel even more epic. And I really liked it. So, Nagata and Suzuki, they've had really good matches at their previous two Wrestle Kingdom encounters, and I thought this one was their best. I loved this match. It was a terrific match. Just two old guys just beating the shit out of each other, and Suzuki continuing to live up to his reputation as being the scariest man in pro wrestling. Yuji Nagata ultimately got the win, despite some outside interference on Suzuki's behalf. But overall, very exciting match, very well put together by two veterans that know how to get it done. Next up, for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, we had Prince Devitt defending against Kota Ibushi and Low Ki. Low Ki, who was wearing a suit throughout the entire match, dressed up as Agent 47 from the Hitman video games. And apparently he was doing it at this show as a formal protest against New Japan over some disagreement that they had about Low Ki not wanting to work a specific event because of nuclear fallout or something crazy like that. And this was his final match with New Japan, and apparently New Japan management was not happy that he worked this entire match in a suit. So that's a wacky story and a bit of controversy surrounding what should be a fairly innocuous match, but in any case, I thought this match was really good. I thought this was a very good, excellent, action-packed match between three guys that are typically very good at delivering high energy, energetic, exciting matchups. And I thought this match turned out very well. Prince Devitt retained the title, which was no surprise. And overall, just a very entertaining match involving three guys that know how to get it done. And again, this was one of the highlights of the show. Then we got a bit of a superstar tag team match. Tenkozy, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, and Satoshi Kojima taking on Kenji Muto and Shinjiro Otani. Otani, who was making a special appearance at the show, and looks like somebody's dad with that hairstyle he had. But overall, I thought the veterans worked really well here. I thought Muta and Otani actually worked very well with the younger guys, and had kind of a new age style match with some old school style pacing, and overall I thought it was actually a really good and fun, entertaining tag team match. Tenkozy got the win, and surprisingly solid match. I didn't expect to like this one as much as I did, but I was actually really entertained by it. Next up, a hard-hitting affair, Togi Makabe taking on Katsuyori Shibata. This is a match that I would expect to see for the Never Openweight title, actually. I thought it was a really good match. Not very long, but very, very good. And just good, hard-hitting, knockdown, drag-out action all the way through. Excellent match. And Togi Makabe got the win, setting him up for his eventual push to get to the Never Openweight Championship and face Tomohiro Ishii in those matches that I loved so much a couple years ago. So Makabe was on the rise, and overall, I thought this was a pretty damn good match. One of my more favorite matches on the show, even though it was short. Then for the IWGP Intercontinental title, we had Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Kazushi Sakuraba. This match was terrific. I love this match. I'd never seen it before, and I thought it was an outstanding match. Again, not very long, but just two clashing styles, with Nakamura working the more strong style and Sakuraba being this great technical wrestler type that could counter out of just about anything that Nakamura threw at him. It made for a very exciting match where every little move they did seemed to mean something, and every counter that Sakuraba came up with was just incredible. And it was just a really amazingly well done match, and I loved it. It was great. Excellent. And Nakamura got the win, of course, but overall just a really stellar match and one of the better IC title matches I've seen at one of these Wrestle Kingdom shows, which is saying, well, I'm trying to think now, like, you had Nakamura and Ibushi, you had Nakamura and AJ at 10, which is probably my favorite. You had Tanahashi and Naito at this year, so, okay, there's a lot of really strong ones, but this one was really good, so it's, just excellent match. Goddamn, I thought they tore it down. And I don't know why, I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. I was just kind of like, oh, this will be good, and then it kind of blew my socks off. So, from there, we get the main event. Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I forgot to mention in my Wrestle Kingdom 6 review that Okada came out at the end of that show and challenged Tanahashi for the title, pretty much setting the stage for their big rivalry and the epic showdowns that they would have, most notable being their showdowns at the Tokyo Dome, which I said in a previous video was my second favorite wrestling trilogy of all time. I had already seen this match. I saw it years ago, right after I saw their match at Wrestle Kingdom 9. I was like, God damn, they've had other matches. I need to see more of these. So I made sure to watch their previous Wrestle Kingdom match, which was this one. And when you look at the Wrestle Kingdom matches that these three guys had, they had the excellent match at 9, they had the excellent match at 10, with Okada finally defeating Tanahashi. I would say that this one is probably their weakest one. Which, goddamn, because this match is incredible. Like, this is an awesome match. And it's their weakest one. So it really just goes to show the type of chemistry that these two had together. That, the obvious comparison to make is Hogan and Rock. Or not Hogan, Rock. Austin and Rock. Just, two big stars just coming together at just the right time. And they tear the house down every time they're with each other. Just the idea of having those two working with each other is exciting enough to make the match work. And stellar match here, absolutely amazing, and just typical of what you would expect out of these two. Like I said, Okada would not defeat Tanahashi at the Dome until Wrestle Kingdom 10, so obviously Tanahashi got the win here and retained the title, but excellent main event, and huge, one for the ages type of main event that would eventually get topped by their other efforts at Wrestle Kingdoms 9 and 10, which is incredible and crazy to think about. But, incredible match, and overall just a very entertaining show all around. You had strong title matches, you had an outstanding main event, you had entertaining undercard. Really, the only weaknesses on the card were the two first matches, which were kind of whatever. Everything else I thought was stellar, and really well put together, entertaining card all the way through. And they also started playing with the bigger entrances at this point too. So and that trend would continue into Wrestle Kingdom 8. So so it had some pageantry going for it as well, and just an excellent show, and just one of those when I say that Wrestle Kingdom has taken WrestleMania's place in my mind as that big extravaganza that I look forward to every year. It shows like 7 that kind of highlight what I'm talking about. It's like this show is awesome, and I'm glad to have it as an annual tradition. But from there, we move on to Wrestle Kingdom 8. Let's pull that up. Got the card. Okay, and this show, again, like Wrestle Kingdom 7, I thought was an excellent show. They had the pageantry with the great entrances. They had great matches, top to bottom. Excellent action throughout. Great main event. Actually, a huge double main event, which I'll talk about in a minute. And really great stuff, just from top to bottom. Just an excellent show all the way through. So, with that, let's get started. Okay, opening match were the Young Bucks defeating the Forever Hooligans, Alex Kozlov and Rocky Romero, Suzuki-gun, Taishi, and Taka Michinoku, and the Time Splitters, Alex Shelley and Kushida. This was for the IWGP Junior Tag Team Championship, and this match is exactly what you would expect it to be. The only thing in the match that really stood out to me that broke it apart from the typical kind of spot-festy IWGP Junior Tag Team title matches were Taishi and Taka Michinoku getting on commentary during the match and doing some funny, antics that at one point they counted their own 3 count and started celebrating in the ring. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of stupid and funny. But other than that, it was pretty much exactly what you would expect out of this type of match with the dog pile spots and the planches and the flips and all the crazy stuff. And Young Bucks ultimately get the win. So, as an action-packed opener, it's fine, but as somebody who has seen way too many of these matches, it's just kind of more the same and just not anything that special. Hopefully Young Bucks and Roppongi 3K at Wrestle Kingdom 12 is able to give us something a little bit different. I actually really liked last year's junior tag match with the Young Bucks taking on Roppongi Vice. Even though they'd done that match a dozen times, I thought the match they put on at Wrestle Kingdom 11 was excellent. So hopefully we're moving past like the Spot Festy 4-ways and actually getting to putting together real matches. So from there, we've got another tag title match. The Bullet Club, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson wearing military fatigues. This is actually, and I should note this, I should have mentioned it with the Young Bucks. This was the Tokyo Dome Wrestle Kingdom debut of the Bullet Club, and they played a big part on the show. Even though they didn't take part in the two major main events, they were present throughout the undercard. They were in the opener, and they're in this match as well. Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson defeating the Killer Elite Squad, Davey Boy Smith and Lance Archer, to win the IWGP Tag Team Championship. Really good match. A good power tag team match, and a nice title change there for the Bullet Club to get that win. The Bullet Club started back in May the previous year, and even at this point, I feel like, and just watching the show now, I feel like they're still kind of forming themselves, even though, you had Finn Balor or Prince Devitt as the leader, and you had, the key members, the core in place to really get it over. They were still kind of like finding themselves, and I think what you see now with the Elite and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks kind of dominating the merchandising side of things, and the Cody Rhodes and those type of guys, I think they've really finalized the identity of the Bullet Club. But this early incarnation is great too, and I thought this match was good, and it was cool to see the Bullet Club win the tag titles here. Next up was kind of a weird match. Rob Conway defending the NWA Championship. Hey, remember Rob Conway? He used to be a member of La Resistance back in the day. Taking on Satoshi Kojima. I thought this match was solid. I thought it was just a very basic, solid championship match. I don't know much of the story behind it or anything, or if it was just them just wanting to throw a title match onto their show. I think Rob Conway was a guy, I'm not saying he should have been a main eventer, but he was a guy that had some potential, and WWE didn't fully tap into it. And you look at this match, he seems like, yeah, he was a solid talent. He was a good hand, and he had a good match with Kojima, Kojima, sorry, fucked up his name there. And yeah, it's like he could have played more of a role in WWE if they'd given him, juicier material than just getting his ass kicked by the Legends. But in any case, I thought this match was solid. Kojima won the title, and that's pretty much all there is to it. It was just a solid match with the title change. That's all there is. Next we got this very weird match. Losing it. What happened? Okay. Sakuraba and Yuji Nagata taking on the Gracies, Daniel Gracie and Rolls Gracie. The problem with this match is that the Gracie family, they are known for mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all that other stuff. They're watching this match, they're clearly not trained how to work. Trying to work a fight and work a shoot fight are two completely different skill sets. And these were two guys that clearly didn't know how to work a fight. Not that they were dangerous. They didn't go out there and start shooting on Nagata or anything like that. They just didn't have the timing down, and they didn't quite have the fluidity down of getting the pacing down for being able to put together a worked match. And the finish was really weak too, with one of the Gracies choking out Nagata with his gi and getting disqualified. Just felt like kind of a throwaway. Yeah, probably the worst match on the show. I'm not saying it was a complete train wreck or a disaster. It was just a very awkward and kind of unnecessary match. I didn't really like it all that much. And it's disappointing because I like Sakuraba and Nagata, and I would expect them to be in something better than this. But in any case, next up, another tag team match. The Great Muta and Toru Yano, that's an odd couple, taking on Suzuki Gun, Minoru Suzuki, and Shelton X Benjamin. I'll say this. I think, and I think this kind of played into it this year too with their bull rope match. I think Suzuki and Yano have a good chemistry together. They have a natural kind of comedic chemistry because Suzuki is such a scary guy and such a badass. And then you have Yano, who's this goofball that finds some way to steal victories from these guys. That to see Yano kind of get over on Suzuki is kind of funny. And it's also kind of funny to see Suzuki get his hands on him and rip him to shreds, like in their bull rope match. So, I don't know. I kind of like watching them get paired together. I think they have a good chemistry. And I thought the match was entertaining. I think the two veterans, Muta and Suzuki, added a lot to it and were basically the stars of the match, with Yano providing some antics that set it apart from the typical kind of card filler tag team match. The finish came when Great Muta got mad at Yano and went to spit the mist in his face, but Yano ducked and hit Suzuki, allowing Yano to roll up Suzuki for the win, kind of continuing that whole idea I just talked about, where Yano just finds these wacky ways to beat like guys that he has no business beating, and then when it comes time for him to get his ass kicked, he gets his ass kicked. So I don't know. I kind of like that thing with Yano. I don't know, it's strange. I know a lot of people don't like watching Yano, but as long as they don't put a belt on him, I'm probably okay with it. And like I said, I think him and Suzuki have a good chemistry because they're so different from each other in every way that you kind of want Suzuki to kick his ass and just brutalize him, but you also kind of want Yano, you kind of laugh at Yano getting over on him too. So it's this nice, it's a very Tom and Jerry style relationship that they have, and I kind of enjoy it. Next up in the King, what was this called? The King of Destroyer match. Togi Makabe versus Bad Luck Fale. A match that is basically a last man standing match. That's pretty much exactly what it was. Now, can anyone please explain to me why people don't like Bad Luck Fale? I don't see it. Like, what do you people not like about him? He's a big guy who works like a big guy, and he has good matches with people. I'm looking at this match. This is a few years ago, and I thought these two had a good match. It was a good, solid, hard-hitting brawl with a table spot where Makabe powerbombed him through a table, and just a good brawling type of match. And it wasn't like a typical last man standing match like you would see in the WWE, where it's more of a stunt brawl and they just do big spots to each other, and you get the guard railing, spear spot, and tons of table spots, or you get slammed off the stage, and that whole thing. It was a very more natural type of fight where they worked in a chain and just kind of beat the crap out of each other. I thought it was a good match. My only real knock on it is that it's one of those matches I feel could have benefited from having color, but other than that, I thought it was perfectly fine. Like, what is the hate for Bad Luck Fale? I don't get it. I've seen him have good matches, and you can say it's like, oh, well, yeah, he had good matches with Okada, but he's working with Okada. It's like, okay, so he's carryable at least. And I'm looking at matches like this, I'm like, what was wrong with this match? It was a perfectly good, fine match. So I have yet to see much of a negative from Bad Luck Fale. To me, he's a guy that serves very well as the Bullet Club's muscle. I think he's good at playing the big man. He's good at throwing people around and being big and being a power guy. And that's all he needs to be. And he does it well. So I don't see what the problem is. So I like Bad Luck Fale. I know a lot of people are down on him. I don't see it. I just don't understand it. Don't see it. I might be the dude's only fan. I don't know. But anyway, next up, the battle between former high school classmates, Hiroki Goto taking on Katsuyori Shibata, in a match that you absolutely expect out of this too. I think the personal history there added a lot to the match, and overall just a nice, stiff, hard-hitting match from two guys that you expect this type of match out of. Hiroki Goto got the win and ended up having one of the better matches on the show. I thought this match was excellent. Actually, the last 4 matches on the show I thought were really, really good, and really the whole second half of this event was very, very strong. So, I thought this match was great. It had the personal story behind it, and overall just played out very well. I thought it was an excellent match. Next up is one of, we have the double main event. This almost felt like it could have been part of a triple main event. Prince Devitt defending the Junior Heavyweight Championship against Kota Ibushi. Devitt, by this point, was the leader of the Bullet Club, and he had a cool entrance that kind of foreshadows the demon that you would see in WWE and NXT years later. Kind of a zombie entrance. He comes out of a casket, and he's fully face painted and body painted, and again, it kind of looks like the demon, but he does kind of a zombie walk down to the ring, and it was very cool. And I talked about how Kota Ibushi, it's man, he just never seems to win that big one, but here he won a big one. He overcame the Bullet Club's interference, and defeated Prince Devitt to become the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. Excellent match. I thought it was a stellar match between these two. Just went for broke, tried to have one of those show-stealing type of matches, and I thought they... if the double main event wasn't as strong as it was, I would have said they succeeded. And that's kind of where the Wrestle Kingdom reputation comes from. I remember when I watched Wrestle Kingdom 9 for the first time, and you look at matches like Taguchi versus Omega and AJ Styles versus Naito, those are matches that on any other show would be the best or maybe even second best match on the show. And they were like the third and fourth, or maybe like fifth and sixth best matches on the show. The show was that good. And this is another one of those cases. On most shows, this would have been the match of the night. But that double main event they had was so good that it's hard to say that it was. But I thought it was great. I thought the payoff of Ibushi winning was great. So I liked the title change. I liked Devitt's entrance. Excellent IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match. Excellent stuff. And huge upside for both guys. And you really do see like the star in the making in Prince Devitt. Next up, the first half of the double main event in a very controversial match. For the World Heavyweight Championship, Kazuchika Okada defending against Tetsuya Naito. It's very appropriate that I'm finishing out the series talking about Wrestle Kingdom 8 because it really sets the stage for the main event at Wrestle Kingdom 12, Naito versus Okada, once again for the world title. Because this match was the starting point of Naito's transformation into what we see now. And Naito today is one of the best wrestling stars on the planet. The Naito back then was somebody that they were trying to make into a star but wasn't really clicking with the audience, a la Roman Reigns. Somebody was high on him, clearly, but he just wasn't getting over with the audience. So when you have that up-and-coming face that nobody likes, the story doesn't really work. And it really showed when, for the first time ever, the fans were allowed to do a fan vote to determine which match would close Wrestle Kingdom. The choices were Okada versus Naito for the world title and Tanahashi versus Nakamura for the IC title. Tanahashi versus Nakamura for the IC title won. And in the long run, it ended up working beautifully because it served as the genesis of Naito's transformation into what we see today. Like I said, go on YouTube and look for that video, The Fall and Rise of Tetsuya Naito, because they took a big negative for his career and for his character and turned it into the biggest of positives and turned him into one of the best wrestling stars in the world, to the point that people want him to beat Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 12 now. And I think this match shouldn't have main evented. I think the fans voted on the right one because, again, it's like Naito just wasn't clicking. So I think in the sub-main event spot, I think it works very well. It works much better that way. I thought both guys went out there and tried their hearts out. I thought they had a very good match. The closing sequence in particular with the double tombstones and all the reversals that they were doing was excellent. It just didn't have the same drama to it that it would have had I actually cared about Tetsuya Naito, or had audiences actually cared about Tetsuya Naito. Okada got the win, so it felt like, man, Naito lost his main event spot and he lost the match, so it just felt like he was kind of being flushed down the drain. But little did we know, he was actually a star on the rise. And it goes to show you, if something's not working, you got to be flexible enough to change it, and maybe you can make it even better. The Rock is a great example of that. Roman Reigns, just saying, New Japan basically gave you the blueprint on how to fix Roman Reigns, and you won't fucking do it. But whatever, that's WWE's business. I'm not going to worry about it. Next up, it was Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on the Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura. Two stellar entrances for both guys, with Tanahashi coming out with the lead guitarist to, I think it was Megadeth. I forget which band it was. I'm losing my my metalhead cred here, but I forget who the guitarist was. But he came out and played Tanahashi's theme, and Tanahashi air guitared with him, so that was very cool. And then Nakamura had all these pole dancers set up around the stage and came out with these women that looked like strippers. And that was actually a really cool entrance that made him look like a big star. It kind of reminded me of like Apollo Creed in Rocky IV or something like that. And excellent entrances. This was definitely the more worthy main event just for the star power involved. And just how big these two were at the time. These were the two biggest. I mean, Okada was up there too, but these were the two stars of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and them getting to close with the Intercontinental title on the line was excellent. And I thought they had an excellent match that was pretty much exactly what you would expect out of these two. And it was a very entertaining match all the way through. Very strong main event with Tanahashi winning the IC title. Further cementing his legacy as one of the best all around in New Japan, and further cementing his legacy as kind of Mr. Wrestle Kingdom with all the great main events he's had and all the big victories he's had in the main event. So I thought it was the right choice to close out the show, and overall just a stellar match all around, and great closing to the show. I thought both Wrestle Kingdom 7 and 8 were outstanding shows, and I was happy to come on here and review them. But we've got Wrestle Kingdom 12 coming up, and I've got a lot to talk about with that, so let's pull up that card. Had it right here. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, now before I get into the card, I should provide an update for something that happened earlier today. During a press conference in Japan, Chris Jericho was giving his thoughts on the match with Kenny Omega, and was subsequently attacked by Kenny Omega, leading to an amazing tirade by Jericho, where he called somebody fuckface and said he was going to beat the shit out of Omega and he was going to end Omega's career and all this other stuff. I mean, the build-up for that match has been incredible, and I cannot wait to see what they do with that match. And I was already excited for this show, and the stuff that Jericho and Omega have done to build this up have been just outstanding. And Chris Jericho, I got to give that guy all the credit in the world. Here's a guy I thought was on the back end of his career, and like his best days were behind him. He goes to WWE and has his best run in years with the stuff with Kevin Owens and the list of Jericho and the feud heading into WrestleMania that year, including one of the best Raw segments in years with the Festival of Friendship. And actually ended up having a babyface run that didn't result in him becoming a watered-down goofball, which was good. And then he ends that run, and then he goes to New Japan, and he's already having one of the most highly anticipated matches at this year's Dome show. So, I mean, Chris Jericho's brilliant. I can't say the dude's not smart. And at the very least, I think that match is going to draw a lot of additional attention to that event, which is only going to be good for New Japan. But, to be perfectly honest, I am super stoked for this show. I think this card looks great. There are a lot of matches on here I want to see, and without further ado, let's just get started. I'm super excited to talk about some of this. It's not up on the Wikipedia page, but I'm pretty sure they announced Minoru Suzuki will be defending the Never Openweight title against Hiroki Goto in a title versus hair match, which that should be a nice hard-hitting match. I'm looking forward to that. I would expect Goto to win, but we'll see. For the IWGP Tag Team Championship, we've got the winners of the World Tag Team League, Los Ingobernables de Japan, Evil and Sonata, taking on the Killer Elite Squad, Davey Boy Smith and Lance Archer, getting back into the title picture, I see. And I expect this to be a really good match, too. I think Sonata and Evil, they're part of Naito's faction, so they're interesting to begin with. And I think the Killer Elite Squad typically have good matches with guys. So, I'm looking forward to that one. I wouldn't be surprised to see LIJ get the win here. For the Ring of Honor World title, we have a better match than the main event at Final Battle. Cody versus Kota Ibushi. Ibushi, a guy who seems to work well with just about anybody. And Cody, who's one of the biggest stars outside of the WWE right now. So, I expect that to be a really good match. I'll pick Cody to retain. I would be very surprised if he dropped the belt, but... Next up, we have a match that I'm excited for. Sho and Yo of Roppongi 3K defending the IWGP Junior Tag Team Championship against the Young Bucks. Like I said, I think Roppongi 3K have added a lot to the Junior Tag Team division, and I think it's a fresh match for everybody involved. I think it's a fresh match for the division. It's a fresh match for the Bucks, and I expect this to be one of the better matches of the undercard. And hopefully, the Young Bucks continue their trend of continually improving and having really good, well put together matches rather than the typical spot festy stuff that we've become accustomed to. Next up, we've got a killer four-way. Marty Scurll versus Hiromu Takahashi versus Kushida versus Will Ospreay, with Marty Scurll's IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line. Again, I typically don't like four-way title matches, but I like it if you can get it to a point where all four guys belong in the title picture. And in this case, all four of them belong in the title picture. They are the four top junior heavyweights that New Japan has to offer. So put them together and see what magic happens. And when you got somebody like Ospreay, and you got guys like Kushida and Takahashi and Scurll, with their different styles and the type of action that they bring to their matches, I expect it to be a very exciting match. But it also works on a story level because all these guys are intertwined in different ways and have rivalries and reasons for hating each other and various other things. So I think it's got a lot of oomph and context to everything too. So I think this is going to be one of the standout matches of the show, and I can't wait to see it. And then you've got your three big singles title matches. Hiroshi Tanahashi defending the IWGP Intercontinental title against the Switchblade, Jay White. I am very interested in seeing how Jay White does here, because I think the character of the Switchblade is very good for him. I think it's a great identity. I think it looks cool. I think everything he's done so far has been really cool. And New Japan must be looking to do something great with him if they're willing to give him a big spot like this against Tanahashi on a big show like this. So this could wind up... I don't really know how it's going to turn out because there's a lot of question marks around Jay White. I know he's a great athlete and can have good matches, but this is about more than that. This is like, all right, can you play this character that you've been given here, and can you bring something different and establish an identity for yourself? And this is going to be a huge proving ground for him. I don't think he's going to win the belt, but I don't know, he might. But I'll be very interested in seeing how Jay White does in this match. I think it's going to be very interesting. So I'm going to pick Tanahashi to retain, but again, I guess I can see it going either way. Then we've got Kenny Omega defending the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship against Chris Jericho. I've kind of already talked about the build-up to this. It's been amazing. It's been great. It's, regardless of how this match turns out, and I'm very interested in seeing how Jericho works in the Dome and how this match ultimately goes. I think the fans are going to be super stoked for this because it's just they've done such an amazing job of putting heat on this match in such a short amount of time, too, that I was like, God damn, January 4th cannot get here fast enough. I'm super excited to see how this turns out. So, I think Omega's going to win, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining spotlight match for the show. I expect this to be one of the more entertaining and successful matches on the show. But the true main event for the IWGP World Heavyweight title, we've got Kazuchika Okada, the longest reigning World Heavyweight champion in the history of this title, defending against Tetsuya Naito. To be perfectly honest, this is a main event that could go either way for me. I could see Okada retaining the title and continuing his history-setting reign, and ultimately facing Kenny Omega later in the year in their final showdown for the title, where Omega finally beats him. I can see them doing that, but with all the build-up put in the Naito for 4 years, to, from him becoming jaded after getting shafted at Wrestle Kingdom 8, to losing that match at Wrestle Kingdom 8, to him getting his revenge on the IC title and on Tanahashi and on New Japan as a whole, to forming LIJ and various other things going on with that character. I think this would be huge if he defeated Okada, ended the record-setting reign, and then ruled New Japan, finally getting exactly what he wanted. The main event spot, winning the world title so he could call himself the ace. I think that this match has been set up beautifully. Everything from the G1 Climax to Naito's whole build-up for 4 years to get him back to this point. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very exciting. And I'm just looking forward to a great match out of these two. I think these two could have an absolutely barn-burner stellar main event match, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I expect Okada to continue his trend of amazing championship matches. Maybe it will be his final one for this particular reign. We shall see. Very interested in seeing how that match turns out. But Wrestle Kingdom 12 looks like it's going to be a great show. I'm really excited for it. And like I said, January 4th can't get here quick enough. So that is all I have for you in this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed the Wrestle Kingdom series. I really like going back and watching all 8 of those shows, even if they didn't quite turn out amazing in all cases. It was just fun to go back and watch some of that stuff. And now I can say I've watched all 11 Wrestle Kingdoms, soon to be 12. So it was really fun to get to do that. But that is all I have for you now. The next video I do will probably be my review of The Last Jedi, which will come sometime this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, later everybody.